Welcome to another edition of A Voice to the Gentile Church. I'm Jim Wingerter. Next to me is Pastor Roger Diaz. Dolores could not be with us today, and so
she's on assignment.
She's on an assignment, and
baby assignment.
Yes,
very important.
Families are growing, grandchildren. So there's a ceasefire in Israel, but it's holding on by a thread.
It's tepid. It's tepid to say the least. It's already been violated. Hamas started, attacking Israel. Interesting that 2 days after this ceasefire and such a big ordeal and such a big show was made of it, that Hamas was out in the street murdering hundreds of Gazans for being compromisers. No one considered that. The global media didn't even want to feature it, but that happened. Wow. So it's an amazing thing that this so-called ceasefire has been violated so very quickly. Yeah, who knows where it's going to go. The big plus, the huge plus with this is that the living hostages are released.
Yes.
Right. And so there's some remains that has to come home to Israel. I'm no longer wearing that yellow ribbon. I'm not going to wear them for the dead. The remains need to come home, but
right.
The living hostages are all safe. And that's huge. At the same time, 2,000 hardened prisoners, murderers, terrorists, has been released back into the Muslim community, where, with absolute certainty, they're going to go after intifadas again. Some of those people that were released were responsible for the knife intifada of 10 years ago.
Right.
And they've been released back into the communities. So it was terrible to see that, and it was a complete delusion that there would be peace, but the hostages are free.
Right.
So President Trump saw a great opportunity to elevate himself, the one who did something that no one else can do, but he didn't do anything, except the hostages are free.
Right.
Which is great, which is tremendous. Trump is by no means ineffective. I mean, we gotta be clear about that. He's by no means ineffective. He's very effective. Some of the things that he's put in place here stateside are excellent, and I champion what he's doing. But at the same time, his quest for recognition, his quest for acceptance, becomes a stumbling block.
Right.
He need not worry about what people think of him, and a lot of what he does is to gain that acceptance. He loves acceptance. He needs to do the work and don't worry about what people think. Which reminds me, what do we think about that No Kings?
Right.
What I want to know is who paid for that?
Yeah, that's who's funding that.
One and two, how did whoever it was, how did they manage to fund this?
It was a coordinated effort in every major city in the world.
It was global, right? So someone forked out trillions of dollars,
right,
to have that happen.
So they had him interviewed after the demonstration. Mm-hmm. He said, "I don't want to be king. I want to make America great again." Mm-hmm. And it's nice for him to say that, but he threw the fodder out there why people are concerned about him being king. He said, "Vote for me this time and you won't have to vote again." And that just reeks of tyranny.
He is provocative. He says things that he knows provoke people. That's part of his demeanor. That's part of who he is. If he's going to get a rise out of you on something, he's going to throw it out there. But what people don't understand is when you're dealing with a personality like Trump, he's a strong leader, and he is very desirous of attention. If you call him a king enough, he's going to go in that direction because you're making suggestions to him.
Right.
And if he's already being blamed for being a king, it's like that song, let's give them something to talk about.
Right.
If he's already being accused and harassed as being a king, well, I might as well be a king. So it's the people that are behind this are typically not even American citizens. This has been funded from overseas, and the interest behind this is global. They want to break down anything that's nationalistic in any country, particularly this country, and that's what this is really all about. Shut President Trump down because he's a nationalist.
Right.
And he wants what's best for this country.
Believes in American exceptionalism.
And he wants what's best for this country, so we just have to shut that down. And that's the perspective of the people that are funding this. And they're funding this, I don't know, at the tune of perhaps, I don't know how much it costs to get that whole thing off. Billions for sure.
Right.
Because those people are being paid. The leaders of the protest were being paid. And that must have cost a couple billion. But it's about globalism. The globalists are losing ground, and they'll do whatever it takes to regain ground.
Right.
So Trump made a statement when he came back from Israel. I think on the plane coming back from Israel, some reporter made a statement, and he responded by saying that he was pretty sure he was not going to go to heaven.
Ooh.
Yeah, and he said it with conviction. You know, he said it, as a matter of fact, with a sense of sureness. Of course, that created a stir, right? Because so many Christians are elevating him as the new Messiah, right?
Right.
And even Israelis lifting him up as Cyrus. In fact, you know, I found out that the billboards in Israel that's put up that's portraying him as Cyrus, comparing him to Cyrus, a messianic figure, came from Friends of Zion.
Oh.
And that this Christian Zionist movement put those billboards up. And I'm thinking that's about the most irresponsible thing a Christian can do. So coming back from Israel, he made that statement that I'm pretty sure I'm not going to heaven. That must have affected the people that are trying to elevate him to Messiah status, right?
Yes.
And listen, I voted for Trump twice, and if compared to the opposition that he had running against him those two times, if that's what I'm faced with in the future, I'll vote for him again, and again if I have to. You know,
Right.
He's not a king, but I'll vote for someone who has the best interests of this country and my community, my family, and this church at heart. I'll vote for them. But I have no delusions about who Trump is. He's a man of this world. He is carnal.
Right. Yes.
You hear him using profanity during interviews. I mean,
Right,
he's just
right,
he's unhinged in many ways. And so he said he wasn't going to go to heaven, and that has upset a lot of people. And it's causing people to respond to it. It's interesting that he said that.
Do you feel that he meant what he said, or that he was doing it to shake the cage?
I think some of that, but I think the demeanor and his countenance when he said it, there was a dimension of honesty in his voice. Like he absolutely was convinced. At the same time, you know, I feel sure that God preserved him. Those times when there were attempts on his life, there were attempts that we don't know about to poison him. And his sons have made mention of that a couple of times. But there have been two occasions when, you know, there were efforts to kill him with weapons, to shoot him. Here in Florida, and again out there in when he got nicked on
Western Pennsylvania.
when he got nicked on his ear. I
Right.
believe God saved him, particularly out there in Western Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
God saved him. Why? Because God had a purpose for him, you know, and we're seeing the outcome of that purpose. God didn't save Charlie Kirk.
Right.
He didn't prevent that bullet from killing him. So it's sort of a quandary to consider that he feels like he's not going to heaven, yet from a perspective, it's clear that God saved his life. We would think for sure that Charlie Kirk is in heaven, but God didn't see a reason to keep him here on earth.
Right.
And that's a, like I said, it's a quandary. It's a troubling issue to think about, right?
Yeah.
So maybe one day he would come to that place where he would acknowledge God and maybe become determined by faith that he would, in fact, go to heaven.
Right.
We want to think that our leader, our president, is heaven bound,
Right.
and has that dimension of faith. I want to believe that. So I think it's good for the country to have a leader who is by faith knowing.
By his confession, he's confessing he has faith for death.
Well, he has faith for eternal damnation.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Right.
I'm convinced I'm not going to heain. So you're saying I believe that there's a hell, and I'm pretty much going to hell.
Right.
I mean, it's not a good thing for your leader to see. It kind of puts a blemish on the country, right?
He's not known for thinking before he speaks.
No, not much. So I saw a video of President Trump lighting a diwa for Diwali in the White House, surrounded by Hindus and a couple of pundits. A pundit is a Hindu priest.
Now, I've never heard any of those things, so maybe explain.
Yeah, sure. A diwa is, in traditional Hinduism from India, diwa is, you've seen those little clay oil pots, right? You find them in...
Sure.
A diwa is basically that. Very crude little clay pot. Now today, a diwa can be a brass bowl, it can be anything. It has to be a firelight. It has to be oil with fire and a wick. So I grew up in a Hindu community. I lived for 7 years in a Hindu community, and every year the community would celebrate Diwali. Diwali is they refer to it as the celebration of lights, and there's a reason why it's the celebration of lights, which is amazing because right at the same time of the year is Halloween. And Halloween is considered a celebration of lights. And people don't think of it that way, but that's exactly what it is. It's considered the celebration of lights. And exactly a day following Halloween is All Saints' Day, which is when you walk through a cemetery and you carry a candle with you and you light a light for the saints.
Okay.
The saints who have died.
All Saints' Day.
All Saints' Day. So here you have these three celebrations that all commemorate together the celebration of light. And of course, Hinduism would say wonderful things about Diwali, and they would say things like, Diwali symbolizes the triumph of light over darkness and good over evil, and presents hope, prosperity, and knowledge with new beginnings. So you pull that right off of the internet.
Right.
But if you read on in the same thread, it goes on to tell you about Lord Rama, who was a demigod. Lord Rama was the seventh incarnation, the seventh avatar of Krishna. Lord Vishnu. Who was Lord Vishnu? He was that purple floating demon, a demigod. Because Hinduism, the narratives of Hinduism points to the pre-flood civilization. When they were Nephilim, in our vernacular, they're Nephilim.
Right.
In the Nephilim of Hinduism, they're actually called demigods, sons of gods, little gods. So these demigods, they had avatars that they would manifest in. And Lord Rama was the seventh manifestation of Vishnu, who was exiled. And so in Hinduism, to symbolize or to actuate that you're looking forward to the return of Lord Rama, you would light at that particular day of the year these diwas. And the idea is when you light a diwa on Diwali, that special day which commemorates with with Halloween
Right.
and with All Saints' Day, which both are clearly pagan. So when you light your diwas as a Hindu on that most special day, most holy day, Halloween, you invite into your home Lakshmi Mata, the supreme Hindu goddess. And she will come into your home and she would bless the house. She would give you favor. all that's evil and against your family and you will go away because Lakshmi Mata has given you favor. She has come into your home because you lit the Diwas on that special holy day, commemorating the hope of the return of Lord Rama. That's, in a nutshell, what Diwali is all about. So you're talking about paganism, unadulterated paganism that goes all the way back to the pre-flood civilization. What do you think, Jim? You think the pre-flood civilization was inundated with demigods and demons and Nephilim?
Oh, for certain. I wonder why Noah didn't tell his sons not to tell those stories.
Good.
Pass it down.
Good. That would have been great. Well, they did pass it down, and the
Right.
Hindus, the people that became the Hindus, they've embellished the pre-flood narratives, and they've made them into what's called Vedas, the stories of their religion.
Right.
They're written in Sanskrit, and Sanskrit is about maybe 5,000 years old. So you're talking about right after the destruction of Babel, Sanskrit was invented, and they began to record the stories, and that's how we ended up with Hinduism. But in invoking these special holidays, right, holidays,
Right.
you're inviting the spirit of these demigods into your life. I had a younger sister who passed away. It's a sad story, but she was 2 weeks away from embracing her patron goddess, who was Lakshmi Mata. And she was 2 weeks away from becoming a Hindu and fully embracing that whole thing, being initiated into that pagan religion. She died 2 weeks before, kind of a mysterious death. Now, I know about Hinduism.
Right.
I've been exposed to it. I've sat through many pujas for the wrong reason.
Right. Gotcha.
I wasn't a Hindu. I was a good Presbyterian kid, but I was invited out because Hindus are extremely evangelistic.
Really?
They want to expose their wonderful religion to everyone. They want everyone to join in on their wonderful experience. And that's why there was a diwa lit in the White House by President Trump, nonetheless.
Right.
I want to tell you something. Whoever lights the diwa is a very important person.
Okay.
Not anyone is to light the diwa. Head of household, a great leader. Trump lit the diwas. So in their belief system, he opened the doors and the windows for the spirit of Lakshmi Mata to come in and effectively inhabit the White House and everyone that was there. You can say, well, that's hocus pocus. Yeah, but the people that did that, they firmly believe and they firmly enact the whole practice, the whole pagan practice of Hinduism. And to them, it's real. It's absolutely real. My experience, I have a brother and a sister who, my brother, he converted, but he got out of it. And I have a sister who was this close to converting, and she died before it happened. And I was completely exposed to the oppressiveness of Hinduism. I went to many pujas. I have had many Hindu friends and understood quite a bit about what Hinduism is all about. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that the spiritual effect of Hinduism is real. It's real. You can say, well, it's all hocus pocus. Why would I be afraid of lighting a diwa? Why would I be concerned about President Trump lighting diwas in the White House? Well, I can tell you with absolute certainty that that is effectual. What he did has effects, spiritual. It's demonic.
Sure.
Remember that these people worship demigods. And these demigods are real. Now, from a biblical standpoint, they're demons. Jesus cast out demigods or the spirits of demigods from people. He did that.
Right.
We have to be honest about this. That's demonic activity. No president should ever be involved in that.
Right.
None. No Christian should ever come close to accepting Diwali. Just like no Christian should do anything to commemorate Hanukkah. Hanukkah, yes.
Right.
Keep saying Hanukkah. Halloween. The H gets me. Halloween. No Christian should ever do anything to celebrate Halloween. In a few weeks, we'll talk about Hanukkah. Hanukkah has a
Right.
biblical base,
Right, and it's
not a celebration of lights.
right, right. I was about to go there.
No.
It means dedication.
So in the pagan history of Europe and other countries, Jews were exposed to it, and the idea of celebrating lights was appealing.
Sure.
So they took the Hanukkah and they kind of amalgamated it into what the pagans were doing. Okay, but we know the story of Hanukkah is about dedication of the temple,
Right.
the kicking out of the abomination of desolation. Those are significant realities. But I'm trying to say that what Trump did is highly, highly effective.
Yeah.
And he opened himself up and the White House and this country to a level of paganism that no Christian should ever be exposed to. None. I know it. I have first-hand experience with it. I've ate the parasite. I've done the things. I know the spiritual effect of the things that I've done. And I'm delivered from it fully and completely. Fortunately, I never really crossed over to actually worship these demigods. I can tell you one particular story, which I will not do, that will shock you. And you will sit there and say, that's impossible. But I'm telling you, you're talking about demonization or demonology on a level that's beyond anything we've ever seen in deliverance ministries.
Okay.
Beyond anything. So we should not be involved in that at all. In fact, we should pray for Trump.
Does he have political pressure from Hindus?
Remember that two things. The vice president, right? So what's his name? Vance?
Yes. JD.
His wife is Hindi.
Ah.
And remember that he has a Hindu leading the FBI.
Okay.
What's his name? Can't
Yeah.
remember that. He has a Hindu leading the FBI, and he was standing right next to Trump when he lit the Diaz. So I said this many, many years ago, and I'm seeing, it's a terrible thing to be able to prophesy and see the prophecy come to fruition. Many years ago, I said, and from the pulpit here, that we ought to be mindful and watchful of Hinduism. It is very aggressive spiritually, and it's very aggressive in terms of spreading its spirit. And now we're seeing it.
Yeah.
I said this country is being vied for. It's in the balance as it relates to Hinduism. And we're seeing it right now. Now, people would say, oh, yeah, it's occultic. Yeah, we know that. But it's harmless. No, it's not.
Right.
No, it's not. Living in a Hindu community, I'll tell you a little something about what I witnessed for 7 years. And I was kind of ostracized in the community, which gave me an interesting perspective to be able to analyze things objectively, because I was ostracized. I never converted to be a Hindu. I went to their prayer meetings, their pujas. I was heavily evangelized by Muslims. Kicked around, spat on, beaten up, threatened with machetes because I wouldn't recite the Shahada. So it gives one a certain perspective when those things happen, right? And I have this perspective on Hinduism that most people, well, many people cannot possibly have. And I've seen the destructiveness of it. I also see how in this country it's being presented on a platter with flowers and Diaz. It's a wonderful thing. It's about lights. But I'm telling you, growing up in that community where there was about 99% Indian, East Indian, or back then it was about 99% East Indian. I was that 1%, no. My family, 1%, no. I grew up there where the Indian community was divided perhaps maybe 70-30. 30% of the community was Muslim, and the other 70% was Hindu. And the Muslims were outright aggressive. Outright. You know what you're going to get with them. And they would try to convert you, and when you reject them sufficiently, they will try to hurt you. recite the Shahada. No, okay, I'll get you next time. Next time they come in with a piece of wood, a stick. All right, I've experienced that. So that's aggressive.
Very.
The Hindus are different. The Hindus are much more welcoming, much more loving. But wait a minute. When that spirit gets worked up in the Hindu community, find a place to hide. I'm not kidding you.
Okay.
When that spirit or those spirits get worked up in the Hindu community, you're going to see violence on a rabid scale. It's time to run. I've seen the way they worship Kali, the goddess of death, the goddess of war. I've seen the way they worship her, human sacrifice. I've heard the screams of the woman who offered her baby in a legal abortion at the riverside.
Right.
I've heard the screams. And I know about Hinduism. And this country should never be embracing Hinduism. We should be very, very careful. Now, if a Hindu hears this, they're going to be upset, but they cannot deny what I'm saying. Prove me wrong.
Right.
You just can't do it. I know enough to be dangerous and to bring danger upon myself. That's all right. I understand the nature of Hinduism. I understand the nature of Islam. It doesn't stop me from declaring the truth. So, now, let's talk about the situation in the Caribbean. I don't know what you know about that.
Only what I've heard on the morning news.
Boats are being blown up.
Ah.
Is that what you know?
They didn't show that.
Well, I think the U.S. Marines and the Navy has destroyed maybe half a dozen boats that were loaded up with drugs, cocaine, loaded to the hilt. Whenever they would destroy one of those boats, cocaine goes flying everywhere. You can see it in the videos. So Trump is going after these cocaine boats. They're small boats, relatively small. They're about 40-foot boats, and they carry like 4 outboard engines, like 400s. So you're talking about 1,600 horsepowers on these boats. So they're fast-moving boats. And they're what we call pirogues, which are designed to take the rough water. So these boats move really fast. And for decades, these boats have been supplying this country and Europe with drugs, with cocaine and everything else that comes with that. Trump, all of a sudden, decided that he's going to go after these boats. They've been doing it for decades, right?
Right.
As a matter of fact, there is one corridor or one course, marine course, that's taken from Colombia across Venezuela to Trinidad, makes a beeline, heads up to Barbados, and then to Martinique. From Martinique, some of that cocaine goes to France. Martinique is a French country. Some of that cocaine goes to France. And from Martinique, about half of it gets to Florida. And so that's the course, the oceanic course. That's been there for decades.
Yes.
But there's a much more effective oceanic course. It comes from Colombia up the east coast of Central America into Texas and Louisiana. And that's been happening for a long time. But much more cocaine comes in that way, and into California as well. So why did he go after the oceanic course that comes up from Colombia, Venezuela, Trinidad, all the way up to Florida? Why did he go after them? It's a good question. Why did he pour multiple millions, even billions of dollars into that effort to shut that down? I'm all for shutting it down.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I'm all for shutting it down. They even took out a submarine. Yeah, they took out a submarine. And so I'm all for that. All right. But why is he all of a sudden focusing on that? Why is that such a hot issue that he sent, I think, about 10% of the U.S. military force to the Caribbean, to Puerto Rico, to stage in Puerto Rico and different parts of the Caribbean, Trinidad, Guyana? Why is he doing that? There's another reason for it.
Okay.
And that other reason is black gold. Black gold. It's oil, fossil fuels.
Okay.
Because about 8 years ago, Maduro threatened Guyana. He said to Guyana, your ambition to harvest oil or to set up oil rigs in the Essequibo, which is a river basin in Guyana, is not going to happen. We're going to take back the Essequibo, the region. Why? Because it has the largest reserve, one of the largest reserves of oil in South America. So Venezuela has two of the largest reserves of oil in the Western Hemisphere. Venezuela does. And Guyana has one that's pretty large, about the size of Florida. An oil reserve that's about the size of Florida.
That's huge.
They discovered that about 20 years ago. Exxon and other oil companies have been there prepping the way for it, prospecting and preparing, building roads, setting channels in place, and setting infrastructure to get in there and basically harvest that oil. They've been planning for 20 years. About 8 years ago, Maduro said, we're taking it back. So Maduro attempted to form an alliance with Brazil, where both Brazil and Venezuela will invade Guyana and take the territory. Brazil said no, want nothing to do with it. The amazing thing is that the former administration, the Biden administration knew about this and yet supported Maduro. The oil companies now, with the advent of Trump, the oil companies now obviously reached out to Trump, brought Trump into the loop of this.
Right.
Because it's expected multiple trillions of dollars to be made in the Essequibo. Multiple trillions to be made in the Essequibo because it's a massive reserve. So what happened? Why all of a sudden Trump is down in the Caribbean, the southern Caribbean?
Right.
There are planes, reconnaissance planes, and CIA planes that are flying over Trinidad into Guyana and across Venezuela. Trinidadians are reporting the sightings all the time. It's about the Essequibo. That's why we're there.
Okay.
We're there to protect that massive reserve of oil and to ensure that Exxon and all the other oil companies that are vested into it gets the oil.
Right.
They can't have Maduro cross the border with Guyana with SUVs and whatever they have as weapons and try to, take the land away. This is a long-standing conflict, at least, 15, 20 years. So that's why we're there. And more than likely, we're going to go to war with Venezuela. More than likely, Colombia and Ecuador, those two countries are going to join in. There is possibly going to be a multinational war, conflict involving hostilities in Venezuela.
Okay.
And this country. And it's really about oil. It's about the Essequibo. I hate to say it, but I think we're using the narco issue, narco war. We've labeled drug cartels terrorists. Why? Why did we decide that these drug lords and the people that are peddling drugs are terrorists? So that we can kill them without trial, because they're terrorists. And that's what's been happening. And it's really about the oil. It's amazing, right? So it's a big issue, and there's a lot of brouhaha about it.
Sure.
And for good reason. Who knows where it's going to go? I do think there's going to be a breakout of hostilities real soon. And I do think Venezuela is going to try to invade Trinidad and also at the same time invade Guyana. They will try. It's going to be brutal. Because as they do so, the United States will get involved and there will be open warfare. If this does not change its course, if Congress continues to allow Trump to do what he's doing, it's going to lead to a open conflict, and it's going to be bloody. Now, let me say this. I support the destruction of those boats.
Right.
I applaud the effort to stop that oceanic course of drugs coming from South America, coming into this country, going to Europe. I absolutely applaud it. Fentanyl is killing people. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is not just hyperbole here. This is real. And so I absolutely applaud it. Do I like the idea of American troops going down to the Southern Caribbean with an ulterior motive, which is the Essequibo?
Greed motivated.
Yeah. I don't like it. Do I like the idea that Maduro wants to invade Venezuela? I mean, Guyana, and take its territory?
Right.
Absolutely hate that. If he was to allow to get away with that, what would happen? So, unfortunately, in the Caribbean, there's a very strong socialist, even communistic sentiment among many people. They're highly, highly CNN trained.
Wow.
They're highly, highly liberal, progressive in their mentality. Where did that come from? The pit of hell. Absolutely the pit of hell. I can't stand with that nonsense.
Right.
And at the same time, I can't fully support the approach against any country covertly or secretly going after the welfare of oil companies.
Right.
But it's a give and take, right? Don't want to see Guyana invaded by Venezuela. I don't want to see little Trinidad caught up in a conflict. I don't want to see that. I do want to see the United States stopping that nonsense. But I want it to be done. Here's my final thing about this. I've done a lot of talking about this. I want the United States, the military of this country, to stop it. Stop what's happening in Venezuela. Stop that madness. Maduro should never invade Guyana for its oil. I want to see that.
Right.
Absolutely. At the same time, I want to see honesty. I would love for Trump to come out and say, you know what? There's a shelf of oil. It's the basin of the Essequibo that carries enough oil to keep us going for 150 years. We want it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we want to ensure that Guyana benefits from it, even Trinidad. We don't want it in the hands of Maduro, because then it will end up in China or Russia. So
Right.
that's why we're there.
Right.
I hate the fact that we're using narco-terrorism, you know, the prospect of child trafficking, human trafficking, as a justification for doing it. Go after them, for sure. Not only that line of cocaine, go
Right.
after all of it.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, if you're out there on a boat bringing drugs into the country, you're fair game.
Right.
You're fair game. That you've chosen that lifestyle, and if you find yourself, bait on the ocean and fish are nibbling on your eyeballs, hey, that's the cost of doing what you've done. You've put yourself in that place.
Right.
I'm not happy about the prospect of innocent people being killed, but those guys on those boats are not innocent. They're not innocent at all. I remember growing up in Trinidad, I had people invited me to get involved in the drug trade.
Right.
You know, come with me, do this, just take this, go there, and you get a couple $1,000s. A couple of times. And I said, if I take this to this community, this village, and hand it to this person, I get a couple $1,000s. That's easy money, right?
Right.
I was a teenager. Sounds
Sure.
good. But I also said I had enough upbringing in me and wisdom to say, wait a minute, guy, if I get away with that once, twice, 3 or 4 times, I'm going to like that. And before long, I'm going to be doing this all the time. Before long, I'm going to be in prison. They're going to love me in prison.
Right.
So I said, that's it. I'm not going to get involved with that
Right.
nonsense. Now, if I had gotten involved in it and ended up being killed, hey, that's the cost of doing business, right? So people are being blown up on the ocean. Cost of doing business. But please, President Trump, speak the truth. Tell the country why you're there. What do you have to be afraid of?
Right.
As he himself said, what do you have to lose? Tell the country why you're in the Southern Caribbean. It's about the oil. It's okay.
Right.
I'm in the mood to talk. Let's talk about the question we got.
So we have a good question, and the question is, exactly how are we to bless Israel?
Yeah. We there meaning Christians, right? Yeah.
I would assume, yes.
Yeah, the question came up last night in class, and I had to address this question. Good question, right?
Yes.
Really good question. All right, so in Genesis chapter 12, and we can go take a look at that, I think verse 2 and 3.
Sure.
God says concerning the covenant that he cut with Abraham, that he will bless those who bless you and he will curse those who curse you. Maybe you can find that for us, Jim. In Genesis chapter 2 and 3. Excuse me, Genesis chapter 12, verse 2 and 3.
And I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great. And so you shall be a blessing, and I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed.
So you just read 2 verses from Genesis chapter 12. It's very important. Now, when just about every Christian, all Christians that I've heard quote from this, they never quote the entire verse. They never put it in full context. They always extract that one part of the verse that says,
I will bless those that bless you.
if you bless Israel, you will be blessed, right?
Right.
And they usually tack on to that verse from Psalms 122 that says, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Right. They shall prosper who love thee.
Right.
We love to smash those 2 verses together. We love to smash those 2 verses together and say, here it is. We have to bless Israel. Why? Because we're going to be blessed.
Right. We're going to prosper if they prosper.
What's it called? Quick propos? Is that what it is?
Yes.
I don't.
You
give to get. You give to get.
Right.
So if you do this thing, if you bless Israel, you will be blessed in return, right? And if you pray for Jerusalem, you shall prosper.
Right.
If you love Jerusalem. So loving Jerusalem is reflected by praying for Jerusalem. This is so shallow that I'm even ashamed to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is it's so weak and so shallow, so shameful that Christian leaders would engage in this type of rhetoric, because it's rhetoric.
Right.
You want to be blessed, so you bless Israel. No, that's not why you bless Israel. If you read the rest of the promises that God gave to Abraham, it's very revealing. God expects more from us than just pray for the peace of Jerusalem and bless Israel. So let's think about it. How do you bless Israel from their perspective, from their point of view? How do you bless Israel? You have a big meeting. You buy you put together. You raise a fund. You buy an ambulance, an emergency vehicle. What else? You can fund. Do a fundraiser, a massive fundraiser, and fund something like that, and that's how you bless Israel. And you're doing it with the expectation that if we put into Israel a fire truck, an emergency vehicle, we'll get something much better back out of it. And that's used as a mechanism to motivate people. There's going to be such an event here in Orlando next month, and it's designed to do just that. Now,
when they first initiated KUFI, Christians United for Israel, they did that. Oh. And I went to the meeting.
Yeah.
And the ambulance, after the fact, after they took the offerings and got the money to pay for the ambulance, they announced that it would not go behind the green line, that they were giving it to the city of Tel Aviv. And it wasn't for the communities in Judea and Samaria. And we should be sponsoring and supporting faith.
So that's a hot potato, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Can't deal with Judea, Samaria, like Trump said a few weeks ago, I am not going to allow Israel to annex Judea and Samaria. It's a hot potato. So
we would say Israel should have annexed Judea and Samaria when they won the war in 67.
But don't confuse the issues with facts and faith. Right? Don't make it complicated with facts and faith. The truth is, Christians don't care really about Judea, Samaria.
Right.
They superficially care about Jews in Israel because that's what they're supposed to do, because that's how you get a blessing. On the other hand, you have many Christians that are supporting Israel because they know that the rapture is coming. If they can do something to enhance Israel and spur along the ingathering of the people of Israel to the land of Israel, it spells out their rapture, their opportunity to be scooped out of here.
Right.
Listen, this all sounds so bizarre, and it's disparaging what I'm saying, but it's true. Many, many Christians, they have their motivation completely mangled. Completely disoriented, and not even having a clue what they're actually doing. Their leaders are saying this is okay. It's okay to superficially bless Israel. It's okay to be hypocritical about your love for Israel when all you want is to be raptured out of here. Because their regathering, their being a nation again, spells the coming of Christ, where he will take us away and distribute wrath upon Israel, because we are not destined to wrath. A total mistreatment of what Paul said.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So you see how wicked it is. But the thing is, most Christians are not even aware of it. They haven't given it any thought. They haven't weighed that whole concept with the Bible. And they're totally irresponsible. Now, listen, they'll stand before God and give an account. I'm not the one to judge Christianity. And I'm speaking again in a way that can be taken as disparaging, but I want to see a change. I want to see people embrace Israel for the right reasons. I want to see Christians stand for Judea and Samaria. I want to see Christians in a position where they're not looking to Israel because it means that they're going to be scooped out of here. Right? So 4 weeks ago, you had this fake rapture thing.
Yes.
My God. What a shameful series of events. We witnessed a few of these, right? From 1988, 1994, again, 2004 or something, or 7 or something, whatever. And then now, we've witnessed the last one. The last one is by far the most hideous because of the internet and because of the whole algorithm of the internet pushing the whole rapture thing around, and people who were not even believers were buying into this rapture thing. It's going to happen. Aliens are going to come, and there's going to be an abduction of all these people. I want to be involved in that. So what do? Confess Jesus as Lord? Okay, I confess Jesus. I can be abducted together with everyone else. That nonsense was happening.
Yeah.
All right, so that's shameful.
Yes.
And we Christians who are pre-tribulanists, believing in the pre-tribulation rapture, we should be careful and ashamed, actually, as to what we believe. We should not encourage rapturism, pre-tribulation rapturism, because it leads to what we saw a month ago, 4 weeks ago. We should be responsible and have an absolute, real perspective, biblical perspective on the rapture, and don't tie Israel into it. The good thing about the position that the Bible gives us, which is a post-tribulation rapture,
right?
The greatest thing about the post-tribulation rapture concept, which is what Jesus spoke about in Matthew chapter 24,
yep,
is that we don't look at Israel as our ticket out of here. If your position is pre-trib, even mid-trib, you have to see Israel in that light. Israel is going to be, the vessel that will experience 7 years or 3.5 years of great tribulation while I'm in heaven at the marriage supper of the Lamb. And so I support Israel because it means that my time to be raptured is coming. And whatever I can do, anything I can do to hasten that, what sort of lives are we to be living? So we apply all these cherry-picked scripture to what we believe, and we make such an abomination of the holiness of the rapture, the holiness of the resurrection. and the holiness of being able to stand with Israel and truly support Israel.
Right.
Supporting Israel is standing and seeing the Bible in its fullest context and knowing that God is restoring Israel because of his love for Israel.
Right.
He's restoring Israel because of his promises to Israel. He's restoring Israel so that Israel will be the head of the nations, not the tail.
Right.
That's what God is doing. A nation of priests to all the nations. We should be able to recognize that and find our position in that. So, how do you support Israel? What do you do to bless Israel? You bless Israel by being a blessing to Israel. Yes, absolutely. Bless those who bless, curse those who curse. So we ought to listen to that carefully and not cherry pick that one statement. I will bless those who bless Israel. I will curse those who curse Israel is what we need to pay attention to. I will curse those who curse Israel. So if you are a pre-tribulationalist and you're saying, oh, look, Israel's coming home, it can only mean that God's going to pour out a bucket of wrath upon the whole nation.
Mm-hmm.
And they're cursed because they don't believe Jesus. You know, they're unbelieving Jews and therefore they're just going to suffer wrath. And I'm not going to be here, but right now I support them because I want my ticket to be pulled. You're cursing Israel.
Yeah. Yeah.
In effect,
Sure.
your actions, your behavior is a curse to Israel. I will curse those who curse you. I dread the prospect that any believer I know and love would be in a position of seeing Israel in that light and acting upon it. Because brother, sister, you're cursed to Israel.
Right.
You should never see Israel from that perspective. You should always see Israel from the perspective of this is the time to favor Zion.
Right.
And that's what God is doing. He's favoring Zion. For what reason? So that the kingdom of God would be established in Zion, according to the Bible.
Right.
And you work to that effect.
Right.
You're a blessing to Israel. That's how you bless Israel.
Right.
And, you know, our little podcast is probably going to reach 20 people. Maybe. And how does this get out? This is the message that's relevant for the church today. This message is relevant. The message that we're seeing in the Pentecostal church and the evangelical church, blessing Israel to be blessed, praying for Jerusalem so that, you know, I will prosper. That's a counter message. That's a counter message. That message is weak, it's depleted. The devil is glorified in that. You know why the devil is glorified in that message? Because honest people, people of the world and Israel, can see right through it.
Yeah.
Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Am I off?
No.
People can see right how shallow it is, and people would say, look at these Christians. Look at the activities that they're engaged in.
Right.
The devil is glorified in what you're doing. So what can we do as Christians to ensure that Satan gets no glory in what we do? Remain grounded in the Bible, 1, 2.
Right.
Be true to the Holy Spirit. Respond to the Spirit of God. Respond to God. Take his direction. Walk in faith. If we do that, the devil gets no glory, Jim.
Right.
He's got no advantage on us if we live according to the word, live by faith, in obedience to God, in the Holy Spirit, walking humbly before him. Right? That's what we should be doing.
Right.
Walk humbly before God and serve him in that way. We're omitted from the prospect of glorifying the devil. When our motives are wrong, when our motives are selfish, I'm concerned about the skin on my back, so I'm going to believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. Even though it's not biblical, it's cherry-picked, I can do that. It's selfish. It's about me. Who's being glorified through any selfish action? who's being glorified?
In the end, the evil one.
The devil himself.
Right.
He's the master of self. He's the master of selfishness. He leads us into a place of selfishness, right?
Yeah.
So we have
Yes.
to be aware of it. We have to be aware of it. We have to be wise as serpents and gentle as doves. We have to be discerning at this time because we live in a time of great deception. And apostasy is everywhere around us. Apostasy is everywhere. The apostasy is growing, absolutely growing. I was teaching the other night, Monday night, and we were talking about the false prophet, right? A global religion.
Right.
And one of the ladies that were there, she's very tapped into what's happening in the global church. She has her fingers on the pulse. And she said that the Baptists, Southern Baptists now, who traditionally were very conservative, very biblical, zealous about the Bible,
Right.
are now promoting very strongly, bigly, according to our president, he promoted very strongly a teaching. It's a teaching. It's a convention, and it's called spiritual formation. And this spiritual formation, I guess we can look it up. This spiritual formation is being promoted in the evangelical church, in the Southern Baptist Church, and it's a concept that we can form spiritually with people of other religions. It's ecumenicalism. So spiritual formation is now kind of a thing, right?
It's a compromise.
So listen, I don't hate Hindus. I spoke a lot about Hinduism.
Right.
I don't hate Hindus. What do I hate? I hate the system. I hate the system.
Sure.
I have pure hatred. I should say animosity, disdain for Hinduism. The Bible tells us to hate what is evil,
Right.
to recognize what's evil and to hate it. I hate Islam. I hate the deceptiveness of Islam. I don't hate the people that beat me up, kicked me around, spat on me because they wanted me to recite the Shahada. I don't hate those people.
Right.
I wish those things didn't happen.
Right.
But I hate Islam. I hate what is evil. And it is for us to do this. It is for us to be honest about what's happening in the world and to be in a position where we can declare it. And that's what I'm doing right now.
Yep.
That's what we're doing
Yep.
right now. But there's an apostasy, and people have fallen away. Spiritual formation, why should I join hands with Hinduism, with Islam, with the worst types of Satanism, and try to form spiritually with these people? I mean, honestly, Jim, any spirit-filled Christian would reject holding hands with a Satanist, with a Wicca practitioner, with a Hindu, with a Muslim, and believing that we're all one. Any spirit-filled Christian will reject that.
Right.
And should.
Should.
Why is the evangelical church pushing this concept? Well, we know why, right? We know right. We know what's behind it.
We be friends?
Well, it's beyond that,
I
right?
know.
It's demonic. It's satanic.
Yes.
It's satanic, and it's happening. So many people are saying, you know what? I'm not going to even go to church here. I'm going to form a home church.
Right.
And in some cases, they're right. They're correct to do it. In some cases, people form home churches because of rebellion, right?
Yes.
They didn't get what they wanted at the church that they were a part of, and they decided, well, I'm just going to form a little apostasy here, right? Do a little Jeroboam.
Right.
So I know of situations where people are called to be part of a certain church, whole families of people. Their confession was, I'm called to be here. Praise God. God has led me to the church that I wanted to be a part of all my life. And they're in that church, right?
Right.
And some party didn't get what they wanted, and they go off and form a Jeroboam. Golden calves. You know, come worship with us, our little home church, for instance. And that will keep you out of that place, that evil place. And that's what Jeroboam did, didn't he?
Yes.
He said, come up to Bethel, come over here. Things are better over here. Don't go down to Jerusalem. Don't go up to Jerusalem. So keep coming over here. It's an apostasy, and we're not in favor of that type of we're not in favor of apostasy, but people that are falling away from that other Christianity and forming in their own groups, that spiritual forming is healthy, because the churches that are engaged in this global apostasy, clear apostasy, that's unbiblical, that has no foundation, has no root. You need to get away from that.
Yeah.
You need to get away from that. And so I applaud people that are breaking away. We broke away, did we? We broke away from the same spiritual beast entity that wanted us to do things their way.
Right.
And we said, no, we're going to make Jesus Lord and the Holy Spirit. And they said, no, you can't do it. You got to go. So, but that apostasy has grown in 45 years. And it's sweeping across the world.
Yeah, they didn't just stay where they were when we left them.
Right. So they want to hold hands with Hindus. They want to hold hands with Satanists. Should never be a part of it. But blessing Israel is what we should do. And blessing Israel means that you stand with them. You take the position that Judea, Samaria is literally Israel, the biblical heartland. And we stand with that. We do what we can. We work to that end, that Israel would embrace Judea, Samaria fully and function in communities there, and whatever impediments that are there should be removed.
Yeah.
Jenin, Ramallah.
Right.
If those are impediments, they should be removed. If the people can live peaceably with Israel, that's wonderful. But could they live peaceably with Israel?
Right.
So when we declare the truth, I want to say this is the final statement here. When we declare the truth about Israel, what is biblical, when we support what we declare with actions, that's a blessing to Israel. Putting together and buying things, emergency vehicle and so on, that's good.
Right.
But if you really want to be a blessing to Israel, you stand on the word of God. You believe the word of God. You stand on it. You act on it relative to Israel. You go there. You build. You go there. If you're a congregation of people, you purposely unite yourself so that you can be that blessing to Israel. You don't divide. You don't embrace your own will, knowing that it's going to prevent that given congregation from being a blessing. You do things that are necessary to maintain the position of being a blessing. You work to that end. Congregations should come together and unite for the sole purpose of being a blessing to Israel. If me and you, well, let's say me and anyone in the congregation, yourself or anyone, ran into a major conflict, what are my motivations for laying that down and overcoming it? Let's say someone takes my parking spot and I go to park in another spot, and then they take that spot, and they keep doing that. That's problematic, right?
Yes.
Something is awry.
Right.
So I can get really upset, and sustain a conflict with that person. And before long, there's a huge discord in the congregation. What is my motivation for not allowing that to upset me? And what is my motivation, therefore, to keep parking in other spots? What would be my motivation to say eventually, well, I'm going to park at Publix and walk down?
The manifestation of Jesus is more important than anything else.
Exactly. 1, 2, our position to be a true blessing to Israel is vastly more important than my will.
Right.
And I will lay anything down for the sake of being that vessel of blessings to
Advancing the
Israel.
kingdom. Exodus 19, God has a wife.
Absolutely.
And he cares for
Isaiah
his wife
chapter
as much
54.
as Jesus cares for the church.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so we should be willing to lay down our self-will, our hurts, all of it, for the sake of being a blessing to Israel.
Amen.
Because this is what we're called to do. We deny Messiah when we allow our flesh
Right.
to get in the way.
Right.
And my hope is that people will see this and we will mature all of Christianity
Right.
and put away the bless Israel nights.
Yeah.
You don't choose one night in 365 nights to bless Israel.
Right.
You live as a blessing to Israel day after day after day. So we need to mature. We need to grow up. We have a lot of work to do as Christians.
Right.
So we can talk and talk and talk about this. Exactly how do we bless Israel? You die to yourself. You lay down your life. You deny yourself to be that wonderful presentation of a holy priesthood that God is preparing in the earth to be a blessing to Israel and to all the nations.
Amen.
That's what you do.
Yeah. Amen. So we have a good question, and if these questions raise other questions in your mind, we're interested in hearing your questions. It's on these questions that we build the programs that we present. And so the easiest way to share your question with us is to email us at voice@buildupzion.org. voice@buildupzion.org. We're having special guests from Israel. Our first is Sandra Barris. She's the founder of CFOIC, that stands for Christian Friends of Israeli Communities. She will be with us Sunday night, November 9th at 7 p.m. And the following week, we're hosting a meeting with Yair Levy. He's an Israeli songwriter. Wonderful music, good-hearted guy. And he'll be here November 16th, also at 7 o'clock in the evening. So open to the public is welcome. And until next week, shalom.
Shalom.